Hi guys, my name is Maya Nieves.
I'm Taylor Voigt.
I'm Cole Denham.
And today we're going to be talking about our different perspectives on the college experience and how our experiences, like navigating this process, have just been different.
So my college experience, or the college application experience, was a lot different because I wanted to go to school and play baseball in college. So for me, there's a lot of traveling to a bunch of showcases, camps, other schools over the past 2-3 years to try to prep for it. Some of the schools I looked at were St. Cloud State, Southwest Minnesota State, Sioux Falls State, but in the end I ended up committing to Bemidji State to play D2 baseball.
So for a lot of my schools, almost all of my schools are out of state just because I kind of knew that I was going to go outside of Minnesota. So I've been doing a lot of traveling just for that. I also knew I wanted to get my college apps in as soon as possible. So I have been working with a college counselor since around the middle of junior year. So I started the process decently earlier than some people. We still kind of went slow through it, but once the school year started, I kind of had to get a lot in because a couple of my early application deadlines for UT Austin and UNC Chapel Hill were October 15th. So yeah, I had a lot just like right at the start of the year. And after that also applied to schools like Mizzou, Loyola, and one in Minnesota, St. Thomas, because they didn't require supplemental essays. So right now I'm at a point where a lot of my applications are done with, but that's not where most people are at the moment.
And then my experience from that was kind of different just because I still don't totally know like where I even really want to go. And I know I'm not playing a sport, and I also never got a college counselor. So over the summer I started like trying to piece things together, but I think not having a college counselor I thought would be fine because I was like, I probably can just figure this out, but I actually think it probably would have been more helpful to just have someone to like talk to and like figure out about deadlines, because now like coming up to November 1st there's like some stuff if I'm applying early to like a couple schools that I'm trying to cram in, but then since I'm not applying to all my schools by like November 1st or like October like Taylor did, it's been like a less stressful process because there's just some more time to like figure everything out. So that would definitely make our experiences different in that way. Okay, so first we're going to touch on our difference in school visits and like how much traveling each of us had to do and how that impacted our decisions.
So for me, when it came to school visits, it really only happened over about the past year. I had my first kind of tour at St. Cloud State just on my own or with my parents. We just went up and toured the campus. That had nothing to do with baseball. But especially starting last spring and into the summertime, I had a lot of visits where I went down originally just for the school side and visited the campus for a weekend, and then came back up or came back home. And then towards the end of July and early August, that's when a lot of schools held their kind of prospect camps and showcases. So I went back to all the schools. First I went to Southwest Minnesota State in Marshall, and then right after that I drove down to Sioux Falls University, and that's in South Dakota, and then I came back, and a day later I went up to St. Cloud State for their showcase. So I had like 3 showcases all across Minnesota and South Dakota, and about a stretch of 3 days. But another one when I got interested in Bemidji, or Bemidji got interested in me, was at just a normal showcase in late June, and they had me come up for an official visit I think July 12th, and that was the first time I was up at Bemidji. So then I was up there, I just kind of toured their facilities and their school, and they're both the athletic and school side of that school. And then after, back to my kind of showcase tour in late July and early August. After I did those and none of the other schools showed interest in me, that's when I committed to Bemidji State. And then about a week after that, I went back up to saw the coaches and some of the other recruits. That will be my future classmates and teammates. So yeah, that's just kind of my way with school visits. It happened really fast, mostly over the course of just like 5-6 months, doing camps for the schools and just seeing the academic side as well.
So obviously I am not going to school for like any sport, so it's a lot different for me, but I still have been doing a lot of travel because all of my schools that I've been looking at have been out of state. So I've been very lucky. My parents have been able to take me on just like weekend trips or literally like 30-hour trips to some of these schools. The first schools I visited were over MEA last year. My mom and I took a road trip down to Chicago and we visited Loyola University Chicago and Northwestern University. And so those were my first visits. We kind of just, like I said, we did a road trip, so it didn't cost us much money except for the hotel, so that was really nice for us to do. And then the next visit, my dad and I flew down to UT Austin, so that was like a bit more of a trip. It took a bit more planning, but we stayed with some of our friends, so it's like there were different things that allowed us to do more trips. One of the like 30-hour trips that we did is my dad and I flew to Syracuse. We literally flew in late one night. We're there for like a full day, visited the school, visited the town, and flew back like the next morning. And then another road trip one we did is we went to visit my family down in Kansas City, and while we were there, did a day trip over to Mizzou. So again, that one didn't really cost us anything except, I guess, gas money. And I was able to see my family and everything, and we visited KU while we were down there. So just trying to get in, like, when we can go to multiple schools on a visit, trying to do that. And most recently, my mom and I took a trip to Colorado so I could visit University of Colorado Boulder. We saw more family out there, stayed in Estes Park, made an actual, like, mini trip out of it in the summer, and we also visited University of Denver on our last day there. So I've been very lucky that I've been able to visit almost all the schools on my list, but yeah, we've been trying to do a lot of, like, if it's near family, we have another reason to go, doing road trips when we can, using random, like, free Delta tickets when we can that we have saved from my parents' miles or anything. So yeah, it may look a lot different for me than for other people because I know plenty of people that are looking at out-of-state schools and haven't had the chance to visit them, so yeah, I have been very lucky to do that, and I think it has influenced my process a lot because with schools like Mizzou, where I did virtual tours and tried to do research on them, I really didn't like it until I went there. So just being able to go to all the schools has made a big difference, I think, in like how I started the application process.
Okay, and then for my experience, I've only toured I haven't toured as many colleges as I think either of you have. But honestly, I feel like there isn't, like at least for my family, there hasn't been, like, the right times to, just because of my dad's, like, working schedule. So I haven't gotten the opportunity to, like, look around as much, which definitely has influenced my decision just because it's made me feel much more, like, cautious, I guess, applying to schools, like, out of state where I've, like, never been to the area. Like, Oregon, I've heard a lot of great things about the school, and I'm, like, really excited to apply there, but I also haven't toured yet. So I think I'll probably do more tours once I, like, get into schools and I, like, realize and I, like, think more and see how much, like, financial aid I'm getting just because I haven't had the time to do it before. But I've toured a couple schools just on, like, family vacations. Like, I went to Arizona last year. I toured ASU, which I got into, like, a week ago, and I toured U of A, which I applied to a couple days ago, too. And then I also toured UMD in, like, junior year, and then I toured it again after I got in a couple weeks ago. And I think that going back, like, once I'd gotten in and touring it again, like, made me have, like, a better visit just because I could, like, actually see myself there and I wasn't more, like, stressed out about, like, if I'm going to get in because I already kind of knew and I could just, like, put myself there. So I think once I hear back from more schools, then touring will, like, feel pretty good.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about how other people have helped us in the process, whether it's like coaches, teachers, counselors, or anything, because a lot of the time the application process involves more than just the student.
So for me, outside support, there's really, well, it started with all my coaches here at the high school and at the place I train, Max Strength. They all helped me, just give me ideas of how to reach out to college coaches, when to, what to say when I'm reaching out, especially at Max Strength, the place I go to train year round. Everyone there has played college baseball or coached college baseball at some level. So it was a lot of really good info from them, and I knew I could go to anyone there and get good advice. So those are people here, and then obviously it came down to actually reaching out to each college coach from all the schools I mentioned earlier: St. Cloud, Southwest Minnesota, Sioux Falls. Bemidji reached out to me, so I didn't really have to reach out too much to them. And then there was a couple other outliers here and there. But, when I was emailing coaches, I was trying to get my name in their head, putting in my stats from the high school season and from my summer season, having a highlight reel of some of my best hits, defensive plays, all that, and just trying to make them remember me, and so I can get those invites to those camps at the end, which I did for the camps in early August. But it wasn't really easy because a lot of coaches they're busy, and sometimes you don't get a response. So you have to just email again and again and just kind of spam their inbox until you get an email back. So it can get pretty stressful, especially when you're not hearing back and you get a little worried. Do they want me or not? But that's all I really had to do is reach out to college coaches, and if I need help, I had plenty of support from coaches here to help me along the way.
Okay, so my experience with other people, I already mentioned I had a college counselor starting middle of junior year, so that's been the person that's helped me the most. She's someone that I heard through a friend and just kind of reached out on my own, so it wasn't related to the school. It is something that costs my family more money, so not a lot of people are in the financial place to be able to do that. But for the most part, I think she just helped me stay on track with where I needed to be, because once you kind of hit that halfway mark on junior year, it feels like you should be starting doing something. It feels like you're already behind, even though you're not. So she helped me. We started with activity statements, which a lot of people don't start with, but it was really helpful because it was just a small part of the application process. And if you don't know activity statements, you have to write a 150 character explanation of up to 10 of your activities throughout your high school experience. And it was something I hadn't heard of before, but it was a good small thing to start with learning how to write just anything in a college application. And we kind of took some of the descriptions that I ended up with and looked for what I could write an essay about out of that. So I ended up writing my essay about my experience playing piano, because in my activity statement about piano, I mentioned that piano has never been my thing. It's never been something I'm amazing at, but it taught me a lot more from that. So I ended up being able to write an essay through that. So she was kind of just there every step of the way. There would be a couple months where I didn't reach out to her because I had a lot of other things going on, but just always someone I could reach out if I wanted to add a school to my list, get any information, send her a draft of an essay, just anything. So it was just really helpful to have a home-based person regarding the application. And then once the school year started, I reached out to Miss Cosgrove a couple of times, our senior counselor, and she's also been really helpful for those same aspects. I scheduled a 30-minute meeting with her just to make sure I was on track with where I needed to be for sending transcripts and getting letters of rec in and how to send my ACT scores. And then also just to have someone at the school to talk to, just to reassure you that you're in the right place. Ms. Cosgrove has been a great resource for everyone and has put herself in a very open and approachable space, because she knows that it's a very stressful process, and she's just someone that's had a lot of experience with every part of this application process and has been available to send your essays to, just anything. So that's one resource I've been very grateful that we have at the school. Last thing I think has just been English teachers helping us with writing essays. Very end of the year, last year, Wilkes had us write a draft of a college essay just to have something, and I think that helped me just to put something down on paper. And this year, Ms. Wilford has been giving us a couple days every once in a while to work on college essays, and has made herself very available for help with that, and just if you need someone to read your draft.
Okay, for outside support from me, I feel I honestly just talk to my mom a lot about it, just because she like had been through the college process before, so she just like helped me look over my essay and like work on my like Common App stuff. And then I also talked to, Taylor mentioned this, Miss Cosgrove, just like I think I set up a meeting with her at some point earlier this year too, just to like talk about senior year like classes and just making sure like everything looked good. And she was super helpful. I sent her my essay too to have her look over it. And then she's also been really helpful, like emailing about how like colleges will come to like our high school and like bring information and have like the information part of the tour. So like tomorrow, University of Oregon's coming at like 12:30, and she just emailed about that. So I'm gonna get the chance to go to that tomorrow, which is like nice because I haven't like gotten to tour there. So just getting like more information about it is something that I think we're all really lucky to utilize here. And then besides that, I also think the English teachers have played a really big role too, like Miss Wilf offering those extra days, and teachers just being like considerate of like what a stressful time is during like park connections, getting like extra time to just work on essays, and teachers just being mindful of that.
So now we're going to be talking about the stress factor of each of our application process and how it differentiates from each of us. Okay, so for me, planning to play college baseball really started back in like 8th grade. That's when I started taking baseball seriously, and as I mentioned during outside sport, I started going to winter training or year-round training at max strength, which really helped change, my, I guess, trajectory as a player. I went from an average, maybe even below average player to now, 5 years later, gonna go play college baseball. But it was really stressful, especially in the early years, because I was always comparing myself to other players at my age or at my position, or I guess it's just like comparing myself to anyone possible and trying to make the best team and trying to have the best stats, and it was never it never really occurred to me that in the end it didn't matter that much, I guess. But the most stressful thing was the first couple months, or I guess the first year that I was reaching out to college coaches. I got maybe one response out of I reached out to I think six schools. I eventually got narrowed down to 4 in the end, but I never heard back, and I was really stressed that maybe they saw my highlights and they didn't like what I saw, or they didn't like my stats, or they didn't like my build, that I didn't weigh enough, or I wasn't strong enough, or I wasn't fast enough. And it really it made baseball, a game that I played as a kid, a lot less fun for a couple of years, just because it felt more like a business than it did a game. But now that I'm committed, it's getting a lot more fun, and I can relax a little bit before actually having to go play college baseball, which will be really stressful, because now that I'm committed, it's nice, but I still have to prepare extra hard to actually go play it. But so that the baseball side of it was really stressful, but once I was in and once I was committed, the application part was not, because all I had to do was send in my transcript and apply to the university, and it took about, I don't know, a week, less than that, for me to actually get accepted. So yeah, the baseball side over the past 4.5 years was really stressful, and then after that, it wasn't that stressful at all.
So my stress factor has been just the past, not even year, maybe the past summer, compared to Cole's last couple years. But yeah, it kind of started when I started working with my college counselor, not necessarily stress, but just okay, I have to start doing this now. We're actually starting part of my college application, and it just got really real, really fast. So again, she did help me to space it out, so that part wasn't as stressful. But then after we got through the activity statements and very general parts of the Common App, starting the essay, it was a really big task. And I know that's how a lot of people feel. It's very daunting, it's very intimidating to put your whole life into one experience, into one essay, and there's so many specific things you like need to do, but also it's so open-ended. So the stress started really fast once I started thinking about writing an essay, and I was trying to start it over the summer, but just different things came up, and also the factor of, I still have a couple months came up. So once the school year started, I realized I was behind from where I wanted to be, and still not behind compared to other people. A lot of people, I think, were at the same part throughout the first month or two of school, but realizing that my first two schools had an early action deadline of October 15th really put it into perspective for me. So all of a sudden it was like really go time, because I had to like finish that essay really quickly, and then between the two schools I had 4 supplemental essays I had to write. So all of a sudden at the beginning of the year, it just hit really hard, and I'm like already trying to get back into the groove of normal schoolwork and staying on top of things, and also just not having as much downtime to work on this. And then I'm having like a month and a half to get through all of these things, and to try to get it checked by my college counselor, and to make sure my activity statements are like actually finalized from where I had them. So I'm a little bit different from a lot of people I've talked to, just because not a lot of people have as many schools submitted by mid-October. So it was definitely a lot of stress in a very short amount of time. But after I did that, I'm feeling a lot more free. And it's just been normal schoolwork for me right now. And I still have one more application that's due in January that has another supplemental essay. But right now I'm feeling good about the way I did things. But if you asked me like a couple weeks ago, I probably would have told you it was not a good idea.
I think my experience has been a little different, just in the fact that like I feel like throughout all of high school I never thought about college like at all. Like I feel like I just thought like I'll go and like I'll get to it when I'll like get to it. And then the whole like the summer going into senior year, I was like backpacking in like a foreign country for like the entire summer, so I wasn't thinking about college then. And then when I got back, there was like a couple weeks before school started, and everyone was like, oh, the Common App just came out, and I literally was like, what even is that? Because I was so confused. But I feel like not having a ton of stress like going into it was good, but then it ultimately made it really bad, because all my stress just came like right at the end, when I just started to realize like, oh my god, this is really, really, really soon, and like I don't know how to like navigate this. But I mean, I eventually figured it out. The applications are very close, and I'm like on track now. But I feel like the English class that I took, we didn't do like Taylor what your class did. We didn't do like a practice essay or anything, so I feel like I just wasn't like totally prepared for that. But like now that it's so close, it's definitely become like more stressful. I think it's been like really stressful to like what you said, like what you said, Taylor, sum up your entire life in just like an essay. But I feel like after the applications, I'll be feeling much better.
So our kind of final statement is just that, I mean, focusing more on me and Maya's experiences, because that's going to be closer to most people than Cole's experience. But for our first topic about school visits, I think if you are in a place where you are able to visit schools and see things that are like the most important to you, I think it helped me a lot. To get that information there and like be on the feel of the campus. But obviously that's not super realistic for everyone. Not everyone is able to go fly somewhere or do a road trip or whatever. So when schools are in your city, when you have a college fair, when you have the admissions counselors coming to visit, really take advantage of those opportunities, because obviously that's what they're there for. Like, get all the information you can if you're not able to go out to that school. Just because it really helps narrow it down in the end, or helps you add schools that you didn't think you might have added to your application list. So yeah, just try to take advantage of any information that you're given, or just like find on websites like virtual tours, find like scheduled online information sessions, just like whatever you can if a school is really important for you to like learn about. Then when it comes to outside support, like college counselor was very helpful for me, but again, like my family's in a financial place to be able to use that. But a lot of people I've talked to don't have college counselors and have just been using Miss Cosgrove's resources and going to the senior meetings that the school has been hosting, and just doing everything in school that they can do. And those are just, again, use the free resources when you can. Like, it's still very helpful. Like, I do think Miss Cosgrove has helped me almost as much in this process as the college counselor I hired has. So she's just like a really great person to reach out to just because you can and because she wants to be there to help you with that. And then lastly, the difference between like me and Maya and just kind of the schedule layout, I guess, of when we applied to schools. Honestly, that's just going to be up to like who you are and where you apply. Like for me, it was helpful to try to be starting things in the summer, but for other people that could just stress them out because it's not, I don't know, it's too early, not where everyone else is at, and it's also starting that stress earlier, and for a lot of people that's just not helpful. So that's just down to the person you are. And then when it comes to deadlines, like I chose to do early action at the schools that I wanted to do because I think that'll help me in the end, but not everyone feels that way, and not everyone thinks the stress of applying early action is worth the like little bump it might give you in the decision process. So it's just going to come down to how, like, where you want your applications to be. Also the schools you applied to, because my schools were an earlier deadline than a lot of other schools. So just the stress factor and the way we marked it out, it's just all going to depend on who you are and the schools you apply to, and just, yeah, wherever you want to be at. Because you're just going to be stressed at some point, and it's just going to happen, and you're going to get through it at some point. So everything will be okay in the end.